It's time for Dodger Baseball. Live from AT&T Park in San Francisco, Sportsnet LA presents the Giants and the Dodgers. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Friday evening to you, wherever you may be. Giants and Dodgers, enough said, except there's a lot to be said. First of all, they played 16 games between each other, and they're 8-8. The Dodgers at home have won 6 of 9, but on the road, they have lost 5 of 7. Also an interesting thing, tonight's pitcher, Madison Bumgarner, he's considered their ace. He is 14-9. 4 times he has started a game against the Dodgers, and the Giants have lost all 4. His personal record is 0-2. On the mound for the Dodgers, left-hander Rich Hill. Remember, he was with Oakland, 9-3. He is 3-2 as a Dodger, and he is 1-1 against San Francisco. You all know, I'm sure, the Dodgers are trying to catch Washington for the home field advantage. Just to throw that up in the air, it's raining in Washington, and the game has been delayed. As far as the wild card is concerned, the Giants are still in good shape. They're 1 game back of the Mets. The Cardinals are 2 games behind the Mets, but only 1 behind the Giants. We could have a wild card game before the wild card game, if that doesn't sound confusing enough. So, yeah, it's the Giants and the Dodgers, the end of the regular season, and yet the whole thing is very much up in the air. So, those are the pregame stats and stories. Pull up a chair, stay with us. We've got a great game coming up, and a whole lot more right after this. Dodger Baseball on Sportsnet LA is brought to you exclusively on Spectrum. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Friday night to you, wherever you may be. Every night seems to be Friday night of late, and the Giants and the Dodgers going right down to the wire for one area or another. As Dave Roberts talks to Bruce Bochy, remember at one time Dave was Bochy's coach. They're talking about the lineup cards and the way this wacky year is coming out. The Dodgers are fine. The Mets beat Philadelphia, so the Mets have clinched at least a tie for the National League wild card. One Met win or a Cardinal loss would get the Mets as one of the definite wild cards. Meanwhile, the Dodgers are very interested about home field advantage. And a game delayed by rain in the East. Miami and Washington, they're all tied up 4-4, top of the fifth inning. So the way it goes right now, the Giants are battling to stay alive as a wild card. The Dodgers are watching Washington because they would like to have home field advantage. And just throwing another monkey wrench into the soup, St. Louis leading Pittsburgh 5-0, bottom of the seventh inning. It's cool here. The players are dressed accordingly. The umpires are bundled up. The wind has changed dramatically, going one way or another. Right now, it's going out towards center and right center. The toboggan hats are broken out, both teams wearing them, especially in the dugout. And here we're ready to go as we get a little salute from the umpires at home plate, which is awfully nice of them to do that, especially on the road. Well, take a look now at the Dodger lineup, and it goes this way. Howie Kendrick in left field, Justin Turner at third, Corey Seager at short, and Yasiel Puig in right field. Carlos Ruiz, the catcher. In other words, you're looking at a right-handed lineup against a left-handed Madison Bumgarner. Kike Hernandez, who is hitting .500 against him in center. Charlie Culberson at second. Rich Hill on the mound. And, of course, there will be tremendous grouping of looking and watching every motion between Madison Bumgarner and Yasiel Puig. So Bumgarner, and let's take a look at him. Among other things, when Madison Bumgarner beat the Dodgers in May of 2015, that put his lifetime record against the Dodgers to 13-5. Would you believe he has not beaten them since? That's right. He is 0-4 in 6 winless starts since that May outing in 2015. So now his lifetime is 13-9. Another thing about Madison Bumgarner of late, his earned run average in his last 8 starts is 4.8. Well, let's take a look at the defensive alignment of the Giants as Madison warms up. And here's the way they shape up. They'll start with Brandon Belt at first base. Kenley Tomlinson at second, not Joe Panik. Brandon Crawford, who hurt his hand sliding headfirst at Dodger Stadium. He's back in the lineup. And newly acquired Gordon Beckham. He was acquired and will play about 6 games. He's at third base. Angel Pagan, then Gorkas Hernandez in center, and Hunter Pence in right. If you're going to see Bumgarner, you're going to see Posey. Meanwhile, Gordon Beckham, a newcomer to the league, and of course that's tough enough because he's a good veteran ball player. Beckham, by the way, is 30 years old, and he's from Atlanta, Georgia. He was a first-round pick by the White Sox out of the University of Georgia, and the Giants welcome him after quite a few years with the White Sox, and 2 years ago he played with the Angels, and he finished up with the Braves before coming here. But that's Gordon Beckham, and right now let's concentrate on the Dodger leadoff hitter, and that is Howie Kendrick. Kendrick hitting .259, doing better on the road, 5 of his 8 home runs on the road. Kendrick, however, hitting just .143 against Madison Bumgarner. So the left-hander works from the third base side of the rubber, and he's about ready to make his first pitch of the night. Madison deals, down and away, ball 1, 1-0. Kendrick charged with the responsibility in the leadoff role of making something happen. And Bumgarner, among other things, is not going to walk anybody. That doesn't figure at all. The 1-0 pitch is popped in the air off first base down the line. Belt might have a little room, backs into the bullpen, and Tomlinson is behind him, and Kelby makes the catch. Tough play. Remember now, this is one of those ballparks where the bullpens are really in an area that comes into play. And going back on that pop fly, Belt almost fell when he got near the mound going up, then stepped on home plate, and Tomlinson there to save the day. So 1 away, and Justin Turner will be coming up. Few notes about Bumgarner outside of his size and all that other stuff. First of all, he averages not 2 but 1 walk per 9 innings. The left-hander ready into his windup, and the first pitch to Turner off speed and high, ball 1. He averages about just under 9 strikeouts per 9 innings. And by the way, not only is it an important start, however, he's also trying to win his 100th career victory. Little slider in for a strike, and that balances things. 1 ball and 1 strike. Walks and hits per 9, he's 4th in the league. Put them all together, it's still a little more than just 1. As you can see, 99 wins, 67 losses. The 1-1 pitch on the way. Turner swings, bangs a breaking ball into left field, and the Dodgers come up with their first hit. So Justin Turner, coming into the game, was hitting .250 with a couple of doubles and 2 home runs against Bumgarner. So a 1-out single, and that will bring up the number 3 hitter, Corey Seager. The rookie against the veteran. Seager is hitting .250. 2 for 8 with a double. However, he has also struck out 5 of the 8 at-bats. Bumgarner out of his stretch, just staring over at Turner. Left-handed to the plate. Fastball down, scooped in the dirt by Posey. And a new ball put in play by Andy Fletcher, the plate umpire. Kerwin Danley, Brian Knight, and Joe West on the line. Cool evening here, 59 degrees. Yasiel Puig waiting on deck. Bumgarner very deliberate, reading Posey. Now the next pitch is swung on, little flare to center field, could be trouble. It's going to drop, and Turner's going to third. A great throw, and he is out at third. Wonderful throw by Gorkas Hernandez. I'm surprised Turner tried to take the extra bait, but Hernandez nailed him by plenty, and holding it first because it was such a good throw was Corey Seager. A one-hopper, and Gorkas just let it fly. And see how far Turner was out. High tag. Beckham held on to it. And here comes Yasiel Puig, getting a crowd reaction, of course. Yasiel Puig hitting .250 against the left-hander. He has 8 hits. He has a double, and he has 2 home runs. Fouls it back. Pretty good fastball at 92, and the count 0-1. Yeah, the big guy, don't look at me. Remember the last time, the confrontation between Madison Bumgarner and Madison Bumgarner, because Puig hadn't done anything. And I think from what I've heard, Madison realizes that, well, let's just say he went over the top. So here's Puig. 2 down, first innings. Seager at first. Bumgarner a high set. Comes back, and there's a line drive down the left field line. That'll go all the way 339 feet away. They're going to wave Seager in. Crawford on the relay throw. He is safe at the plate. Holding at second base is Puig, and it is 1-0 in favor of the Dodgers. So Corey Seager scoring from first. Line drive that went all the way down to the 339 line, right in the corner. And by the time Pagan picked it up, he hit his cutoff man Crawford. Crawford made a good throw to the plate, but those young legs of Seager got him home ahead of the tag. So the Dodgers get a 1-0 lead. They've had 3 straight hits now against Bumgarner, and the batter is Carlos Ruiz. The first pitch to Carlos, taken for a strike, 0-1. Ruiz hitting in the 350s. He has a half a dozen hits, 2 doubles and a home run in the past against Bumgarner. Bumgarner out of his stretch. Puig taking a lead at second. Off speed pitch in the dirt. 1 ball and 1 strike. So the Dodgers strike first. And again, remember, Washington tied up 4-4 after a game delayed at least an hour. They're in the 5th inning last we checked. So Yasiel, line drive double, RBI. That is his second double, and he has 9 hits now against Bumgarner. The 1-1 pitch is a change, and that's in for a strike, and the count 1-2. Carlos Ruiz, the veteran, who's been hitting well for the last week or thereabouts, trying to pick up Puig from second base. The 1-2 pitch on the way. Bumgarner deals high with his fastball. One thing Bumgarner does do badly, he gives up a lot of home runs. Second highest number of home runs allowed to right-handers. He's given up 22 home runs, 19 of them, interestingly enough, on the road. Left-hander looks down to get a sign. Giants usually win his games. 2-2 pitch. Puig going to third, and it's fouled away at the plate. So Yasiel took off. Ruiz fouled it back. And we have 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out. Puig at second and 1 run in. We said when Bumgarner starts, the Giants have a good chance to win. The Giants have won 19 times of his starts. He's also had 8 possible victories lost. You know, the bullpen with the Giants, very shaky. All right, Bumgarner ready. Ruiz ready as well, and Bumgarner turns off the rubber to take a look at Puig. With Brandon Crawford in the hole at short, Tomlinson's job with a right-hand hitter is to try and make Puig back up, but he won't do it. Now the pitch coming up, taken away. So Bumgarner now pitching very carefully, goes 3-2. On deck, Rob Segedin, another right-hand batter. In fact, the only left-hand batter position player is Seager, and the pitcher, Rich Hill, also bats left-handed. Crowd coming alive. 3-2 the count, and time. They sell out almost every game here, and they've done that for years. When they sell out, 41,915. Not sure whether that would count tickets sold or not. 3-2 is a breaking ball, foul back. Still 3-2. So the Giant Dodger fans early, sitting peacefully on a cool evening at 59. They are armed, however. Madison Bumgarner looks in to get a sign. He gets a lot of infield pop flies, but he is not a ground ball pitcher at all. 3-2 to Carlos Ruiz. Bumgarner high set. Here he comes. There goes Puig. A little pop fly heading into left field. It will drop. Puig scores. Holding at first is Ruiz, and the Dodgers have jumped out to a 2-0 lead over Madison Bumgarner. Puig's ball is the only one that was really hit, but the Dodgers will take them any way they can get their hands on it. So 2 pop flies along with that line drive double. Remember, the Dodgers might have had more. Turner was thrown out trying to go to third. So Ruiz, a single. That cashes in Puig. Puig double, and that cashed in Seager. And here now is Rob Segedin. Bumgarner out of his stretch, comes to the plate, gets the strike, and they count 0-1. Bumgarner has a very good move to first base. In fact, he has 4 pickoffs, and he has 4 more where the runner is picked off and is eventually caught in a rundown. Ruiz short lead. Bumgarner's breaking ball turned foul into the protective fencing in front of the Giant dugout. Very light breeze right now, blowing out a little bit towards center, a little casually out to right, and 59 degrees certainly gets anybody from Southern California's attention. All right, Bumgarner looking at Posey. Boy, they've been together a long time. Posey has caught 95% of Bumgarner's pitching this year and 79% of Bumgarner's total innings. So Madison down 2-0 in the first inning. Left-hander ready. Here he comes, way outside, 1-2. If you look at the Dodger batting average against right-handers, 265. Against left-handers, only 216. But they put together one line drive double and a couple of pop fly singles, and they lead 2-0 in the first inning. Bumgarner's next pitch is outside. 2-2 the count to Rob Seguin. Two balls, two strikes, two out, two in, one runner at first. There goes the runner, and the pitch is swung on, fouled at the plate. That took a bite out of Buster Posey. Boy, what a year when you think about it, a catcher puts in, especially a guy like Posey, who's in there almost every day. Naturally, you have to come out once in a while. Posey, a workhorse, goes back into a crouch. Busty's played in 144 games. 2 balls, 2 strikes. And the pitch is swung on and missed, and down goes Seguin, down go the Dodgers, but not before they put up 4 hits and a double by Yasiel Puig. A shot down into the corner. Ruiz coming around, and coming in to score was Seager. Here comes Ruiz. He scored on the fly as well. So Puig comes in on the pop fly by Ruiz. Dodgers didn't have to hit the ball hard except for Puig, and they lead 2-0. Two to nothing here in the first inning. We'll take a look at Bruce Bochy's lineup, and this is the way it goes. The leadoff man is the center fielder, Gorkas Hernandez, who made that wonderful throw to third base to nail Justin Turner. Brandon Belt at first base, Buster Posey the catcher, Hunter Pence in right field. Angel Pagan in left, Brandon Crawford the shortstop, Kelby Tomlinson, who made a good play on the pop fly to right field. Then you have Gordon Beckham, the newcomer, and Madison Bumgarner. Gorkas Gustavo Hernandez checking in against Rich Hill. Hill's record, well, he was 9-3 with Oakland, 3-2 with the Dodgers. what really catches the eye, he is 12-5, but on the road, a great 8 wins and only 1 loss. In fact, his earned runnage on the road, 1.7. So Rich working now on Gorkas Hernandez, followed by Belt and then Posey. The left-hander into the windup and deals. Hernandez takes a strike, and we're underway. Gorkas from Guria in Venezuela. He's an even 6', 190. 29 years old, so he's labored long and hard to get up here. Strike 1 pitch. Hill's breaking ball in for another strike. 0-2 the count. Rich Hill 1-1 this year against the Giants, 3-2 lifetime. Gorkas first came up with the Pirates, then to the Marlins, back to the Pirates, and with the Giants. Takes outside. 1 ball and 2 strikes to the leadoff man, Gorkas Hernandez. Dodgers lead 2-0, just starting. Bottom of the first inning. And the 1-2 pitch on the way. A curveball bang down the left field line. That's going to be good for 2. Hernandez on his way to second. The ball picked up by Howie Kendrick, gets it back in, and Hernandez at second with a leadoff double. So the Giants trying to come back and do a little damage. Now you get to Belt, Posey, and Pence. Brandon Kyle Bent. You certainly remember Mr. Belt. He's been around, been with the Giants really since 2011. Power hitter out of Nacogdoches, Texas. Went to school at the university and has walked 101 times. So a very disciplined hitter with a lot of power. First pitch to him, checks, and it's high. 1 ball and no strikes. A 5th round pick by the Giants in 2009, and he was playing in the big leagues 2 years later. He has taken a dive like so many of the Giants following the All-Star game. 1-0 pitch, fastball inside, ball 2. When you look at the Dodgers season, somewhat ironic. 27th of June, Kershaw was down. Gonzalez needed a couple of days off. And oddly enough, that's when the Dodgers took off. In fact, only the Cubs and Red Sox have had better records in all of that time. 2-0 pitch. Belt lays off a slow breaking ball, and the count is 3-0. Well, Belt, as we said, has power. We'll see, do they want to risk it on a 3-0 count with Buster Posey on deck. Brandon waiting. Out of a stretch goes Rich Hill. Fastball in for a strike, figuring on 3-0. Brandon Belt, 16 home runs, 79 runs batted in. Strikes out a lot, 147 times. So the 3-1 pitch coming up. Here comes Hill. Fastball foul back. 3-2. So Rich depends on a lot of things. First of all is his arm angle. Sometimes 3/4, sometimes he'll drop it a bit. We always remember him striking out Brandon Crawford almost sidearm at Dodger Stadium with a curveball. So he goes 3-2 to Belt, and we'll see what he delivers. Left-hander out of a set, looks back at second. Fastball fouled away. So still 3-2. And it's one of the oldest rules in baseball. The hitters all look for the fastball, figuring they can adjust to the breaking ball. And especially if you get that big, slow curveball from Rich Hill. Behind the plate, Carlos Ruiz, Chooch as they call him, hangs it out. 3-2 pitch on the way. Sidearm curveball hit foul. So that is typical Rich Hill. He went 3-2 fastball. Then he drops the arm angle, and there's that slow curveball just about sidearm out there. And he spins it in, and Belt fouled it away. So that was right out of the book that struck out Crawford and I'm sure each hitter talking to each other, especially about the starting pitcher. So a 7-pitch at bat so far. 3-2 the count to Brandon Belt with Posey on deck. Dodgers lead 2-0 first inning. Over the top fastball for ball 4. So with the Dodgers jumping out to a 2-0 lead, all of a sudden the Giants now have the tying runs aboard. Nobody out, and Buster Posey coming up. Posey, as we said, in there almost always, hitting .285, struggling, however, of late. 29 at bats. You figure 4 at bats a game. So he's been struggling for a while. Buster, 14 home runs, 76 runs batted in. He is a contact hitter. He doesn't strike out a lot at all, only 65 times. So Buster ready to pitch to him, off speed, in for a strike, 0-1. Posey out of Florida State. Back in 2013, he became a Giant for a long time. He signed a 9-year deal and no trade. So he's got 2 on, Hernandez and Belt. And another breaking ball is hit up the middle for a base hit. Hernandez charging, picks it up, throws to the left of the mound. No chance for a play. Hernandez scores, and the Giants come back. It's 2-1 Dodgers, and the Giants have first and second, and nobody out. So Buster Posey coming back with the kind of game he has given the Giants for years. A base hit, picking up an important run. So Hernandez double, Belt walk, Posey singles in a run, and here is Hunter Pence. Hunter Pence, the fidgety, constant in motion right fielder. And look at the numbers, 397 RBIs in his last 15 home games. Pence, of course, he is quite a picture, and he's a model of consistency. In his career, 285 at home, 282 on the road, 285 against left-handers, 283 against right-handers, 289 day, 281 night, and 295 runners in scoring position. That's Hunter Pence. Big swing and a fastball, and the count 0-1. Pence out of Arlington, Texas, lives in Houston. Right-hander looking at those 2 runners out there. You have Belt at second, Posey at first. 2-1 Dodgers first inning. Hill ready, over the top with a fastball very high. 1 ball and 1 strike to count. Pence backs out for the moment, now checks in. Hunter is big enough, 6'4", 215-pounder. Very, very aggressive, high energy, constantly in motion. 1 ball and 1 strike. Hill at the belt, looks at the runners. Here he comes, soft curveball, foul back. And the count 1 ball and 1 strike. One of the things that has bothered Hill with the Dodgers, if you've been following the ball club, blisters. But you and I might think the blister would be right in the middle of the padding of the finger. It's actually directly, almost completely under the nail. Tough to heal. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Breaking ball hit to short. Up with his Seager, over to second for 1. Back to first, not in time. Taking third is Posey. He was erased at second, so Belt goes to third. Pence at first, and the batter, Angel Pagan. Looked like it might be a double play ball, but actually the ball took a little while to get to shortstop. So the tying runs at third. We have 1 out. Angel Pagan up there trying to pick him up. Pagan from Puerto Rico, 6'2", 200-pounder, originally signed by the Mets. Mets clinched a wild card with a victory tonight against Philadelphia. All right, Pagan, right-hand hitter, fastball away, 1 ball and no strike. Pagan been playing since 2000, so he's had a long career, 17 years. Trying to pick up Belt from third, the tying run, and he has Pence at first. Hill's fastball and a high fly ball to deep left playable. Kendrick goes back, makes the catch. Tagging up and scoring is Belt, and we have a tied up game in the first inning. 2-2. Well, that didn't take long. The Dodgers had 4 hits to score twice, and the Giants come right back with 2 to even it up. Pagan getting the run home. So Pence all alone at first, and Brandon Crawford checking up. Crawford with 11 triples and 12 home runs. You may remember he hurt the little finger, I believe, on his right hand, going head first into third base last game we saw in Dodger Stadium. The first pitch off speed, base hit up the middle. Pence will stop at second. Hernandez gets it in. So in the first inning, Rich Hill is really struggling, and the batter will be Kelby Tomlinson. 3 hits, a walk, and a scoring fly ball. So the Giants have tied it up. Kelby Tomlinson, as he checks in, hitting .294. No power, but he does have half a dozen RBIs. Just called back, and now Rick Honeycutt going out to the mound. So Kelby Tomlinson will have to wait. Tomlinson, as he stands at home plate, from a little town in Oklahoma called Elgin. It's near the Fort Sill Army base. You might remember that. In fact, it is such a small town. They got its first traffic light in 2014, and you can number them. There's one grocery store. There's a Dollar General, a Family Dollar store, a Sonic, and a McDonald's. So Kelby was on the small side, but he has grown up to be a solid citizen. Checks in now, taking the job away, at least for a little while, from the left-hand hitting Joe Panik. So you have Pence at second, Crawford at first, and here's Tomlinson, 7th man in the lineup. Fouls the first pitch back. Looked like it might have been either a slow curve or a little cutter at the end of it. 0-1 the count to Kelby Tomlinson. So if you joined us late, Hernandez doubled. There was a walk to Belt. Posey singled home Hernandez. Eventually Belt got to third, and Pagan's fly ball scored him. Strike one pitch, fastball in there, and the count 0-2. The key to the inning right now is Hunter Pence on the ground ball to short. It looked like a double play, and Pence was able to beat the throw to first. That kept the inning alive. That gave Pagan the chance for the sac fly, and then Crawford to get a base hit and a run batted in. So Kelby waiting. The strike 2 pitch inside, driving him off the plate, and the count 1-2. How big is Elgin? How many people there? As you know, just limited stores. 2,156. His mom is an assistant teacher, and his mom works at a Goodyear plant. Here's the 1-2 pitch coming up. Fastball poked foul. It was up 88 miles an hour. His mom had a penchant for naming the children the letter K. Kristen with a K, Cameron with a K, Colin with a K. She came across Shelby and decided, I'll make it Kelby. Here's the 1-2 pitch on the way, off speed and fouled at the plate. In fact, forget the foul, picked up and tagged, and that's the end of the inning. So Tomlinson strikes out. However, the Giants bounce back, and at the end of an inning, we have ourselves a raucous 2-2 tie. Second inning in a 2-2 tie. It will be Hernandez, Culberson, and Hill. Kike hitting .500 against Madison Bumgarner. And a breaking ball in for a strike, and the count 0-1. Yeah, that's right. Kike's hitting .500. He has 11 hits, 4 doubles, 3 home runs. Takes a look at the pitch low. 1 ball and 1 strike to Kike. Culberson on deck, the hero, of course, in the final home game at home with that home run in the 10th inning. 1-1 pitch swung on and missed, and the count 1-2. For the Dodgers, they're running up against a fella they've been beating of late. He's 0-2. He has started 4 times and comes away with 2 defeats this year against the Dodgers. It's interesting that each team has defeated the other 8 times. The pitch low. That means with Puig and company, the Giants have won 8 of 12 against the Dodgers without Madison Bumgarner. And Yasiel full of himself with that line drive double in the first inning. 2-2 pitch on the way is low, ball 3. 3-2. Dodgers since 2015 have had a lot of problems here. They've won 4 and they've lost 13. So winning 4 out of 17, that makes this more like a graveyard, but not necessarily so. The Dodgers have won some big games here down through the years. 3-2, and it's a change low. Ball 4 to Kike Hernandez. So for Madison Bumgarner, he's checked a few boxes. He's gone an inning. He's allowed 2 runs, 4 hits, 1 walk, 1 strikeout, and here is Charlie. Culberson, who can spend the life just thinking about that 1 home run. He has also a little 6-game hitting streak and batting .302. So Culberson, an unsung hero, but they've been singing his praise ever since. Hernandez draws a throw. He's back easily. Remember, you have a pitcher with a very good move to first. Hernandez is 2 for 2, however, in stolen bases. Madison out of his stretch, sets up around the nose. Now to the plate, slings it outside. So 1 ball and no strikes to Charlie Culberson. Well, you can just imagine how Charlie feels. You can just about live on that for many, many years. But being baseball what it is, it's what have you done for me lately? Well, Hernandez at first, nobody out. Second inning, 2-2 tie. The next pitch in for a strike, fastball. So 1 ball and 1 strike. Madison Bumgarner means everything to the Giants, just as Clayton Kershaw does for the Dodgers. Bumgarner, among other things, is very, very consistent. The next pitch pulled on the ground wide of third by the diving third. The throw to second is safe, but then coming off the bag is Hernandez, and Tomlinson tagged him out. So Beckham dived at the ball, couldn't get it. Crawford, always thinking, fired low. And it was a good play by Tomlinson to dig out the hopper. It almost went into right field. Kike thought it was going into right field, tried to get back to the bag, and Tomlinson nailed him. So Culberson is aboard on that fielder's choice, and Hernandez cut down 5-4. Great save by the second baseman Tomlinson, and a good hurried, quick thinking throw by Brandon Crawford. So that really bailed out the pitcher Bumgarner. Kike was just decoyed, thinking surely that throw by Crawford was going into right field. So here is Rich Hill. Bumgarner ready, delivers. The bunt is missed, and the count 0-1. Rich, of course, with Oakland, he was 9-3. He's a batter He's had 10 at-bats. He is 0 for 10, 6 strikeouts. Bumgarner 1 out. We're in the second inning and we have a 2-2 tie. Bumgarner a lob to first. Back to the bag is Culberson. Charlie, of course, hasn't played a lot, though he has 1 stolen base. Here's the strike 1 pitch on the way. The bunt is attempted and missed, and the count 0-2. So Hill, having spent so much time in the American League, he might once again been a pretty good hitter, but they take that away from you over there. So 0-2. Rich, see if he tries to get the bunt down again. Waiting on deck, Howie Kendrick. 2-2 tie. We're in the second inning. And the strike 2 pitch, the bunt, foul, and down he goes. So the strikeout number 2 for Madison Bumgarner. Culberson at first, 2 out. Howie Kendrick coming up. Miami leading Washington. That's a big game for the Dodgers. Remember, 2 games back of Washington, fighting for home field advantage. They're in the top of the 7th. Miami 5, Washington 4. Bumgarner said, looks over at first, works the hitter inside with a fastball, ball 1. From what we hear and read, Washington is not the same. Gio Gonzalez is not pitching that well. Steven Strasburg has arm trouble. Bryce Harper has a bad thumb and a painful neck. The 1-0 pitch is swung on in this. And for good measure, Wilson Ramos, the brilliant catcher who was batting .307, who had 22 home runs and about 80 RBIs, he's out with a torn ACL. Daniel Murphy, leading the league in hitting, out with a questionable leg. So the Washington Senators are struggling atop the heat. 1-1 half swing. Kendrick charged a full strike, and the count 1-2. Undecided on about a letter high fastball, took half a swing. So Bumgarner started with a walk, then the fine play by Crawford and especially Tomlinson. Hill strikes out, and 1-2 to Howie Kendrick. Here comes Bumgarner. Fastball hit down to Crawford on his knee, gets up and throws him out. So the big play was that play at second base when Hernandez thought the ball was thrown into right field. Great save by Tomlinson, and we still have a 2-2 tie. 2-2 tie, and it'll be Gordon Beckham followed by Bumgarner and then Hernandez. Rich Hill's fastball in for a strike, and the count 0-1. With Beckham, all you have to do is look back to the 2008 draft. There were two unrelated players from the state of Georgia, both named Beckham. In the first 8 picks, number 1 was Tim Beckham. Gordon takes high, and Gordon was number 8. And in that same draft, taken number 5, the catcher named Buster Posey. So Gordon James Beckham waiting at the plate. The 1-1 pitch on the way. Fastball in at the knuckles. Ball 2. 2-1. Rich Hill is making his 6th start for the Dodgers, his 3rd against the Giants. He is 1-1. His earned run average against the Giants 0.82. Left-hander comes back 2-1. Slow curveball and dropped it in there nicely. 2-2 the count. Hill beat the Giants 1-0 and came back to beat them 2-0. His 2-2 pitch on the way. Breaking ball low and in. Count goes 3-2. In talking about Rich Hill, you wonder just how long he will pitch tonight. Just one of the mental questions faced with Dave Roberts. Do I keep him ready to pitch game 2 against Washington? Off speed, a hopper in the hole, backhanded by Seager. The off-balance throw on a bounce and scooped up nicely by Seguin. What a play by Corey Seager. So Beckham losing a base hit to the brilliant young shortstop, and we have one away. Short hop, no chance to set, throwing off his right leg, and a low one hopper and a good scoop by Seguin, who's basically an outfielder. The big play by Corey Seager. One down, and here comes Bumgarner. And if you've been following baseball at all, you know he's a good hitter with 3 home runs. Madison takes a strike, and the count 0-1. Bumgarner's a big man. He's 6'5", 235 pounds, 27 years old. Strike 1 pitch, fastball, fouled right back. 0-2. Dodgers and Giants tied up 2-2, and we're in the bottom of the 2nd inning with 1 out. Great play by Corey Seager. Here's the strike 2 pitch, curveball, nubbed up along first. Hill picks it up, turns, lobs it to first in time for the out. So 2 down, and Hernandez coming up. Friends, the 2017 World Baseball Classic is coming to Dodger Stadium March 20th through the 22nd. Don't miss your chance to see the world's best baseball players compete for the title in the championship round. Visit worldbaseballclassic.com for more information today. How do you like that? We're still not out of September, and we're talking about March of next year. Wow. Gorkas Gustavo Hernandez takes a look at the pitch, low, ball 1, doubled, threw out, and made a great throw to get Turner at third, trying to go from first to third on a single by Corey Seager, and boy was he hung out to dry. 1-0 fastball in there. 1-1 to Hernandez. Gorkas had hit 8 home runs while playing for Sacramento. He backs off the pitch low. 1 ball and 1 strike. Gorkas young, hot-tempered, so they say. The 2-1 pitch, he takes a change high. Twice when he was in the Pirate organization, he was playing for Altoona, and he had to be disciplined twice for letting his emotions get the best of him during game. He has calmed down a bit, takes a high strike, and the count goes 3-2. Let's say 2 years ago, he might be all over the umpire, but not now. First name Gorkys. Gorkas. Hill ready, bottom of the second. The 3-2 pitch, fastball hit in the air to center. Easy play. Kike at the other end of it, and that's the third out. So we have gone through two in a very big game, especially about other teams as well. And at the end of two, a 2-2 tie. A 2-2 tie. Dodgers will have Justin Turner, Corey Seager, and Yasiel Puig. And by the way, Miami has added a run. They are leading Washington 6-4 in the bottom of the seventh. To refresh your memory, Dodgers trying to catch Washington to get the home field advantage. Meanwhile, the Mets clinched the wild card, so now the Giants trying to stay away from the Cardinals and win their own wild card. And remember, for the wild card, that's great for the Giants. They've won championships 10, 12, and 14, and 12 and 14 they were the wild card. Here's the 1-0 pitch on the way. Bumgarner ready and deals, and that's a little low. The pitching for the series, they pitched Johnny Cueto, who pitched 7 great innings, so he's out of this series. So it'll be Albert Suarez against Clayton Kershaw tomorrow, and then Matt Moore and Kenta Maeda. We're talking about the Mets clinching a tie. They're waiting to see about the Cardinals. So there's still quite a bit in this tapestry of baseball trying to be decided in the National League. 3-0 pitch on the way. Fastball, half swing, 3-1. Turner far more effective against right-hand pitching than left. Bumgarner into his windup. 3-1 pitch, fastball, a high fly ball into shallow right center. Pence is there waiting and makes the catch for the out. So Turner the pop fly, one away. Corey Seager, who singled in the first inning, scored on Puig's double and has made a couple of fine plays, and especially that one on Gordon Beckham. So here's Corey, one away, and Yasiel Puig waiting on deck. Left-hander Bumgarner's first pitch is a high fly ball into deep right center. That's a deep part of the ballpark, and making a great catch is Gorkis Hernandez, who started to go the wrong way and somehow turned the other way and made the catch. Wonderful play by the young center fielder. And for Seager, a long out, 2 down. Another look. Gorkis going to his left, deep, turning, and now the wrong way, and lunged back. The wind did not affect it. That was just the flight of the ball. and it was a great response by the young center fielder. So 2 out. Here is Yasiel Puig, who doubled in a run in the first inning. Bumgarner ready, deals, swung on and missed. 0-1. Crowd naturally reacting in Bumgarner's favor. 2 years ago, Puig had a game here at AT&T Park where he had 3 triples. So Yasiel asking for time, now straightens up. Bumgarner ready. Strike 1 pitch to Yasiel, bounced in the dirt in front of him. Had he not moved, it would have hit him on the leg. 1 ball, 1 strike. It wasn't the first time that Bumgarner was hollering to Puig, "Don't look at me." That happened a year or 2 before that. It was a pitch in the dirt right at Puig's feet. He got his feet out of the way and sat right down in the dirt. That was part of the past history. We might show it in a moment. Here's the 1-1 pitch on the way. And a little roller up along third. Bumgarner can't get it. Barehand pickup. Beckham throws. It gets away from Belt. And Puig is safely aboard. It will go as a 2-out single for Yasiel Puig. Little dribbler. Once it got by Bumgarner. Barehand try by Beckham. Off balance throw. Belt tried to one-hand it. Got off his glove. So it's a 2-out single for Puig. That means Yasiel 2 for 2. Nice try by Beckham. And the batter is Carlos Ruiz. Puig very short lead, but at one time tried to steal third back in the first inning, and the pitch fouled away. Well, we'll watch him. So will Bumgarner, and a good throw to first. Madison again, not particularly a ground ball pitcher at all. Here's his first pitch now to Ruiz, and that's taken for a strike. 0-1. Ruiz pop fly single in the first inning. Picked up the RBI. Puig short lead at first, especially against a guy like Bumgarner. Now the strike 1 pitch, a broken bat pop fly. Coming in is the shortstop Crawford to make the catch. So a little pop fly, and that bat just disintegrated in the hands of Carlos Ruiz. No runs, an infield single, a man left at the end of 2.5, a 2-2 tie. All night long here. So in the third, it'll be Brandon Belt, followed by Buster Posey, and then Hunter Pence. For the Giants, a good hitting ball club, but they've had, you could say, a power outage. Belt swings and probably drives one toward the bricks in right field. It's going to come off the wall. Belt on its way for two. Puig a little late in getting it back, and it's a long double for Brandon Belt. What we wanted to mention to you is the fact that in the last 61 games, Buster Posey has 2 home runs. In the last 41 games, Brandon Belt has 2 home runs. And in the last 49 games, Brandon Crawford has 2 home runs. So they're not muscling up on the ball at all, but all of a sudden they have a tiebreaker at second base in Belt and nobody out. Posey, Pence, and Pagan, the P-men, coming up. Posey singled, first at bat. Rich Hill set at the bell, comes to the plate, fastball fouled away. Buster Posey, his full name, if you ever wondered, Gerald Dempsey Posey III. Gerald Dempsey Posey III, better known as Buster. Rookie of the Year back in 2010. 3 All-Stars, 3 World Series victories in 5 years. What a career. Fastball, that's hit the right field. Puig coming up to make a sliding catch and then throws all the way to third on the fly. Oh, that's Yasiel. Not only making a diving catch, he's laughing, but he made the catch, and then did he make a throw. Take another look. Fly ball could have dropped. Yasiel gloves it, slides, rolls over, and air mails it to third. Meanwhile, Belt had no idea of trying to advance. Yasiel having fun looking over at Kike Hernandez. So 1 out. Belt at second. Hunter Pence checking in. Pence late on the first pitch. 0-1. Strike 1 pitch on the way, and that one's on the inside corner. Pence had a nice family moment. His brother's wife delivered a baby, and before the game he got a text message from his brother, hit one for the new HP. Well, he hit the home run. 0-2 the count. The strike 2 pitch backs him away, ball 1. Talking about the new HP, they were talking about his brother Howard. Well, they're in the bottom of the 8th inning in Washington. Miami is leading Washington 6-4 in the 8th. Dodgers, however, struggling a little here with 1 out. Pence trying to pick up Belt, and the off-speed pitch is high. 2-2. That was kind of an awkward delivery by Rich Hill. Ruiz didn't like it, so he immediately went out to talk to him. Maybe looking at second, see how he loses his balance. He wasn't quite ready. Notice Rich Hill when he pitched against Johnny Cueto. Boy, their legs were flying all over the place. 2-2 curveball is strike 3 call, and Hunter can't believe it. So Andy Fletcher rings him up. Boshi, unhappy, let out a few words, and immediately Fletcher kind of looks over. So a big strikeout for Hunter Pence. Boshi, who was a catcher in all of his playing days. Pence staying in the ball game, which is the big thing. So the leadoff double by Belt. Posey a fly ball and a great catch by Puig and throw. Now Pence strikes out, and Pagan takes the strike, and the count 0-1. Pagan, as we mentioned, signed by the Mets out of high school in Puerto Rico. Played a couple of years for the Cubs. And of course, he's had a good career up and down after leaving the Mets with the Giants. 1 ball and 1 strike to count. Pagan, not a lot of power. He'll hit 8 home runs, maybe 11, that type of a hitter. Good outfielder. Has had a lot of physical problems, but he's hanging in there. Last year was a very tough year. He played for the Giants, San Jose, Sacramento, and over in Scottsdale, all with physical problems. He takes offside. 2-1 the count to Angel Pagan. Belt at second. 2 out later in a 2-2 tie. Dodgers have to be playing scoreboard in watching the Miami-Washington game. 2-1 pitch, fastball, foul back, and the count 2-2. The Nationals have won 93 games. The Dodgers have won 91. That's the difference of the two. 2 balls and 2 strikes to count. Pagan trying to pick up Belt. Rich Hill set at the belt. Left-handed delivers. Fastball whacked into left center. Hesitating and coming over and making the catch is TK, and that'll be that. No runs, a leadoff double. And at the end of 3, a 2-2 tie. And LA is brought to you by the Dodge Challenger. Test drive one at your local Dodge dealer today. And by Children's Hospital Los Angeles. We treat kids better. Some of the wonderful people I've met along the way. Harry Carey in that red shirt, that might tell you that despite the fact everybody thinks of him as the broadcaster for the Cubs, he also did a great job with the Cardinals and the White Sox too. Harry Carey. He was really a character. Rob Segedin, then Kike Hernandez and Charlie Culberson, and that's a strike. 0-1. Segedin playing first base. One ball and 1 strike. A lot of people came by the booth at Dodger Stadium in the course of the last couple of weeks, and there were 3 particularly wonderful moments. Here's the 1-1 pitch. In fact, Rob Segedin and his wife Robin sent their new baby boy Robinson. They all came up to the booth to say hello. That was a great moment. Clayton Kershaw came up with Callie. and his wife Ellen is expecting a boy in November. 1-2 now. And Kenley Jansen came up with his little son, and he stole the show. All he did was laugh and smile, clap his hands, and hold up the finger one. Here's the 1-2 pitch. 2-2 the count to Rob. Second in, Hernandez, Culberson. Madison Bumgarner roughed up a little bit, couple of pop flies, line drive double by Puig. He gave up 2, but his mates came right back to get the 2, and so we're even here in the 4th inning. Little breaking ball, just low. 3-2. Crowd wanted that one. Boshi really wanted it. 3-2. Waiting on deck, Kike Hernandez. 3-2 to Seguin. Fastball punched to the right side. Tomlinson makes the play. By the way, Andy Fletcher is getting a little noise from behind the plate, and a couple of kids are running on the field. So let's talk about Fletcher for a moment. He became a major league umpire in 1999. He was born in Memphis, lives in Mississippi, went to the University of Mississippi. His dad was a high school referee, so I'm sure it runs in the family. And he would be in law enforcement if he was not an umpire. A couple of kids trying to steal the moment, slow down the game, running on the field, and just taking a big moment on the big stage. They've gotten one of them in right field, and the other one is nailed down by Pagan in left field. Oh, and the crowd loved that. He went up to do something with Angel Pagan, who immediately grabbed him and slammed him to the ground, and they're taking him off the field. And the crowd really applauding a little law enforcement. And of course, you never know. You know, it might be what you think is some well-meaning gentleman running out on the field, and then he's running at you, and Pagan was not going to guess. And Angel got an ovation for taking care of whoever dared to come into his territory, offering a flower. Doesn't that bring you back to the 60s and the flower children? And oh, what? You don't remember the 60s? Okay. So we're waiting for order to be restored. Almost ready. Posey explaining to Kike Hernandez, 2 guys coming out on the field and offering flowers. I guess you could say only in San Francisco, maybe. And the players getting a big kick out of it. Posey was laughing before he put his mask back on. Kike seemed a bit perplexed, as if to say, what was that all about? And Posey now laughing and talking to him. Meanwhile, deadly serious, Madison Bumgarner waiting for Hernandez, who is batting .500 against him and who walked in the 2nd inning. So anyway, if nothing else, you learn a little bit about Andy Fletcher. Okay. Change, little bend at the end of it for a strike. 0-1. Kike walked in the 2nd inning. Strike 1 pitch on the way. Another breaking ball. Check swing. No swing, says Kerwin Danley. And a 1-ball, 1-strike count. Hernandez 11 for 22. 3 home runs, 4 doubles, and a walk tonight. 2-1 the count. You're talking about one of the top pitchers in the game in Madison Bumgarner. 18 game winner in 2014, 18 game winner last year, 14-9 this year. Good breaking ball for a strike. but he has really been unlucky this year. I mean, Bumgarner should have a lot more. He lost 8 possible victories where he left the game winning and the bullpen let it get away. Slow breaking ball hangs high. So Kike takes him 3-2. But imagine losing 8 where you think you've won. 6 of those he pitched at least 6 innings and allowed 3 earned runs or less. 3-2. Check swing. They're going to call it a strike. Yep. So Hernandez strikes out. Third strikeout for Madison Bumgarner on the check. So Charlie Culberson reached on a fielder's choice in the 2nd inning. That was that bad throw at second base and the diving save by Kelby Tomlinson. Charlie has a little 6-game hitting streak. He wears that number on his back. 1 ball and no strikes. Light breeze blowing out to right field. Been pretty windy all day. Now the 1-0 pitch on the way. Bumgarner deals. Fastball pulled on the ground to short. Crawford waits, then guns it, and that's that. So the Dodgers go quietly in the top of the 4th. At the end of 3.5 innings, a 2-2 tie. It's really an understatement. If you go back to June the 26th, the Dodgers were 8 games behind the Giants. Tonight, the Dodgers took the field 7 games ahead of the Giants, and it all started, and it looked like a really damaging blow when the Dodgers lost the services of Clayton Kershaw. By the way, Dave Roberts with a lot on his mind, thinking about Washington. Washington is losing 6-4 in the 8th. Bochy knows the Mets clinched a tie and the Cardinals are winning 7-0. And it's a little off the plate to Brandon Crawford. So for Bochy, he knows all those numbers. Cardinals are 1 back. Miami is out of it, but they can be the spoiler and beat Washington and help the Dodgers. 1-1 the count to Brandon Crawford. Brandon Michael Crawford began the year on a high note, signed a contract worth $75 million. The kid from Mountain View went to school at UCLA, fouled off. One of the great stories about Crawford was when it looked like the Giants might leave and go maybe to Miami, but somewhere across the country. And there was a picture in the paper of a little 5-year-old leaning on a railing near third base, holding a little sign saying, "Please stay." Turned out to be Brandon Crawford. The 1-2 pitch, curveball, and he just strokes it into left field. So Crawford 2-for-2 with a base hit to left. So the leadoff man has gotten aboard in the first inning when Gorkas Hernandez doubled. The leadoff man Beckham in the second inning was thrown out only because of a great play by Seager. The leadoff man Belt doubled to right in the third inning, and the leadoff man singles against Crawford in the fourth. That is, the first commandment is get the first pitch for a strike, and the second commandment, get the leadoff man in the inning. And Hill is struggling. Breaking ball, grounded foul, and the count 0-1. Well, in Washington, they're in the top of the ninth, and Miami is leading Washington 6-4. However, the Dodgers are just tied up here in an area where they have not done well at all. To repeat, since 2015, they've played 17 games here, and they've won only 4. 0-1 to Kelby Tomlinson. Hill, of course, if you look at a schedule, you figure if they play and when they play Washington, whether at home or on the road, Hill would probably be pitching the second game. 0-1. Fastball missed. So you wonder a little bit about Hill and whether Dave Roberts is going to be checking the possibility of blisters and be extremely careful with him. Meanwhile, Crawford at first. Dave bundled up. It's cool. 59 when the game started. Time. Tomlinson with Beckham on deck. Two runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers. 2 runs, 5 hits for the Giants. Bad ball. Tomlinson misses that by plenty. 1-2 to Kelby. Kelby had kind of a difficult life. His parents were divorced for 8 years, and then they remarried. Here's the 1-2 instead, throw to first. His mom worked so hard. She had 2 jobs to play for summer ball. The family went without internet or cable TV. They gave it up so he could play. 1-2 to Kelby Tomlinson out of Elgin, Oklahoma. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Hill kind of side-arming a throw to first. Two in the fourth. There goes the runner. Hit and run fly ball in the gap. Kendrick and Kike both call, and then Hendrick gets out of the way. So Kike made the catch. Back to first is Crawford, and the batter will be Gordon Beckham. Bend it like Beckham. Well, he just joined the club from Georgia. Went to the university. Had a lot of good years with the Chicago White Sox. Starting in 2010. He hit as many as 16 home runs. Takes under the hands. Ball 1. Gordon Beckham has good athletic genes. His father, Gordon Sr., was a quarterback for the University of South Carolina. And his mom also attended the university. She was a cheerleader for both football and basketball. He has 2 younger sisters. Gordon, this one, was a quarterback too in high school. threw for 25 touchdowns as a senior. Gordon Beckham. Gordon James Beckham III. We're in the bottom of the 4th inning. We have a 2-2 tie, a very noisy first inning. Each team with 2 runs, and the pitchers have calmed down. 1 ball and no strikes. Fastball in for a strike. Beckham has a look down to Roberto Kelly. Gordon is an even 6, 190. He'll be 30. 16th of September, so he passed it. He's 30 years old. 1-1. Check swing is going to cost him a strike anyway. The Giants giving Andy Fletcher a bit of a bad time. Hunter Pence growling a little. A couple of others. Hill kind of sidearms the throw to first. Both pitchers have a good move. And another flip over there. Crawford again inching away. 1 out. Off speed, little dribbler down to get it is Hill. Picks it up, fires to first, 40 out. Crawford advancing, and Madison Bumgarner will be coming up. So Crawford at second, 2 down. Bumgarner hit one back to the box. Madison, born in Hickory, North Carolina, lives in Lenore with a lot of his relatives. I remember this story. A real country boy, and the first time he wore a suit was when he got married. A dancing Crawford. A change is fouled away on a half swing. 0-1 the count to Madison Bumgarner. Bumgarner 3 home runs, 7 runs batted in, and of course he has a man in scoring position. So Crawford backing away from second. 2 out, 0-1 in a 2-2 tie in the 4th. Off speed pull foul. 0-2. They're in the bottom of the 9th inning, and Miami added another run. So it's Miami 7, Washington 4, bottom of the 9th. So Dusty Baker and company starting to hurt. 0-2 to Bumgarner. Slider low on a check swing. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Each side 2 runs, 5 hits. Left some men in scoring position, that's for sure. All right, 1-2. Curveball, foul back. So Hill giving him everything, but not many fastballs. Hill trying to rub a wrinkle in the ball. He'd have pitched very well for the old Brooklyn Dodgers. I mentioned it before. Gil Hodges would take a new ball and pinch the seam. They could rise. There's the fastball, and that's that. So Bumgarner strikes out. So the leadoff man is getting aboard, and Hill is setting him down. And at the end of 4, a 2-2 tie. Yes, sir. Dodger Baseball on Sportsnet LA is brought to you by Southern California Toyota dealers. Toyota's clearance countdown is on. Get the biggest savings of the year on the 2016 Prius family. The wonderful Jack Buck, the voice of the St. Louis Cardinals. How pleased he'd be to know the Cardinals won tonight 7-0 with their ace Carlos Martinez. So they're very much in the wild card. So the Mets beat the Phillies. Cardinals nail Pittsburgh. And now we'll see about the Dodgers and Washington, and the Giants as to just where they figure in the wild card. By the way, talking about the Dodgers and Washington, that's a strike. In case you do not know, the Dodgers won 5 of 6 with Washington this year. Thus, they would win a tiebreaker should the Dodgers and Nationals end in a tie. 0-2. Well, boy, there's a lot going on. It looked like at first this was just going to be a nice weekend in San Francisco, but there is a lot at stake. 0-2. Fastball is too much, and Hill takes a walk. 4 strikeouts for Madison Bumgarner. Howie Kendrick fouled out and grounded out. Fastball strike. The only walk that he has given up, and I guess it figured when he walked Kike Hernandez. Hernandez came into the game hitting .500 against Bumgarner. And that's driven to slightly right center over the head of Hernandez, but he gets over there and makes a catch. So Gorkas Hernandez covering a lot of ground out there in center field. 2 down. And by the way, don't forget limited tickets to the Dodger home games for the National League Division Series and potential National League Championship Series. They're on sale right now. Visit Dodgers.com/postseason. Order yours today. 2 out. Here's Justin Turner. Single to left. Tried to go to third on a base hit by Seager. Hernandez nailed him by a lot. Last time up, fly to right. And a strike. You've really got to be looking for strikes when Bumgarner is out there. Averaging a walk for 9. Oh, 1. Another breaking ball. Crawford's at the other end. So a nice inning for Bumgarner. He's now retired 7 in a row since Puig had the infield single, and we're going to the bottom of the 5th in a 2-2 tie. Fifth inning in a 2-2 tie. Started off a wild first inning, but that has settled down considerably. Both Rich Hill and Madison Bumgarner doing very well. The only problem for Hill, he's having so much trouble with the leadoff man. In 4 innings, the leadoff man has gotten aboard 3 of the 4, and the 1 inning didn't. Crawford made a sensational play on a ball hit by Beckham, and Seager was able to throw him out. 0-1 the count now to Gorkas Hernandez. Well, it's a final score. Miami 7, Washington 4. Christian Yelich homered for Miami. So the Dodgers now have a chance to be 1 game behind Washington for home field advantage. So for Dave, I'm sure he knows right now the final score of the Washington game. 1-1. Off speed, hit in the air to right center. KK calling, puts it away. 1 out, bottom of the 5th inning. So that really is the first time, even though it's the second, but it's really the first time Hill got the leadoff man. That's Brandon McCarthy up in the bullpen. Here's Belt. He's walked and doubled, scored a run. 2-2, bottom of the 5th, 1 out. Big game for the Dodgers and for the Giants. Line drive, base hit to left field. So Brandon Belt has a walk, a double, and now a single, and an angry Rich Hill waiting to get the ball to face Buster Posey. So Belt putting on a good exhibition. Double to right, line to single to left, and boy, Rich Hill hollering at himself. He is furious. Posey has singled and was out on that little fly ball, the diving rolling catch by Puig, who then came up and airmailed a throw to third to Turner, leaving the runner frozen. That was Belt in second base. Strike. Brandon McCarthy is now joined by J.P. Howell. 76 pitches made by Rich Hill. So the Dodger pen very busy. One thing that has always bothered them, but there's no room to put it, the bullpens here. Right. I mean, you would like your bullpen somewhere that it would not be involved on balls in play or fly balls that could be caught. And we've seen some bad spills racing over the mound or at the home plate of the bullpen. The land is so precious here, really no place to put them. Breaking ball. So Posey coming out of his shoes on that pitch. Posey stopped to say something to Carlos Ruiz. I'm not quite sure what that was all about. I didn't know whether he was wondering or worrying that he might have hit Ruiz with the bat. Oh, we'll never know. But Posey strikes out. 2 down, 4 strikeouts for Rich Hill. Hunter Pence hit into a forced play, struck out. He was angry. Big breaking ball misses. Ball 1. 1-0. Pence, a very vital player to the Giants. He won the Heart and Hustle Award here. Big swing and a miss. He joined the Giants in July of 2012, and he inspired everybody by his hard play. He also won the Willie Mack Award, the award named for Giants legend Willie McCovey. They gave the award out tonight. It was split, Brandon Crawford and Javier Lopez. Brandon Belt with 2 out at first. Hunter Pence trying to advance him. 2-2 tie, bottom of the 5th. Off speed. 1-2. Hunter Pence is well aware that he is so fidgety, and his prayer is simply, God, you didn't give me much grace or style, but you gave me a chance. That's his attitude. One and two. Fastball, fly ball to right. Puig is there. So no runs, 1 hit, a man left, and at the end of 5, a 2-2 tie. 2006, the Dodgers clinched the wild card here, beating the Giants 4-2. That eliminated the Philadelphia Phillies. Last year, Clayton Kershaw clinched the division, pitching a one-hitter here. This is a very tough ballpark. That's the only twice a visiting team has been able to clinch a post-game berth here at AT&T Park. Oh, Pagan goes all the way in the corner to handle that long fly ball. And Seager has hit the ball hard tonight. He is 1 for 3. And the batter now, of course, Yasiel Puig. Like a blare of trumpets, the boos go out into the night. And Puig, straight-faced, is 2 for 2. Doubled hard to left, squirreled one to the left of the mound, and beat it out for a base hit. That's a strike. On 1 to Yasiel. Breaking ball, a little out in front of it. You want to look back, there was a long drive for a home run by Puig over the center field wall. Bumgarner didn't like that at all. Then he threw at Puig's feet, and that was another don't look at me moment. Crazy. And then, of course, you remember this one, Bumgarner at Dodger Stadium, and again, don't look at me. Now Puig's looking at him. Fastball hit the right center, but there is the ever-present Hernandez. So a long fly ball to left, a hard hit fly ball to center, and the batter now, Carlos Ruiz. After a 23-pitch first inning, Bumgarner has settled down. 16 pitches, 11 pitches, 14 pitches, 7 pitches. So his pitch count now is only up to 75. And the same for Rich Hill after a 26-pitch first inning. 1 ball and no strikes to Carlos Ruiz, who singled to drive in Puig and popped up. 2-2. It's been that way in the first inning. We're now in the 6th. Slow breaking ball, but it was up. For Bumgarner, he's retired 9 in a row. 2-0. Fastball missed. So the Cardinals are keeping their wild card alive. The Mets have clinched a tie. Washington lost, so the Dodgers could pick up a game for that home field advantage. Fastball lined into left field. So Yasiel Puig is 2 for 3, and the batter will be Rob Seguin. Oh, did I say Puig? Okay. Puig flied, Ruiz singles, and here's Seguin. 2-2 tie. Ruiz short lead at first, and ball 1. Seguin has struck out, grounded out, 0 for 2. So Ruiz breaks that string. And now Seguin trying to add to it with Hernandez on deck. Each side, 2 runs, 6 hits. Just imagine, Bumgarner has not beaten the Dodgers since May of 2015. Hard to believe. That's going to be whacked down the left field line. Pagan comes up with it nicely, and that holds Ruiz at second, and it brings up Kike Hernandez. So Seguin, a hard single to left. 2 on, 2 out. Seguin not fooled. He had a good swing on a pitch up and bangs it to left. Pagan covering a lot of ground. Big thing was holding Ruiz to second. So here is Kike, walked and struck out. Off speed, ground ball by the diving Crawford, charging Pagan. Here comes Ruiz, bad throw. Not only does Ruiz score, the throw gets away from Beckham, and the Dodgers have runners at second and third, leading 3-2. So Hernandez continues to drive Bumgarner crazy. Crawford just missed getting the glove on the ball, that close. And a bad throw by Angel Pagan. So Ruiz scores, and then the cutoff man let the ball get away. That was Beckham. It'll be a single and RBI. They're just saying the runners move up on the throw. So Hernandez coming up with yet another big base hit against Madison Bumgarner. Here's Charlie Culberson, and ball one. So the Dodgers with 2 out. Ruiz single to left. Seguin single to left. Hernandez hits one just by the diving Crawford to break the tie. (3-2) Dodgers, 6th inning. One ball, no strikes. Fastball foul back. 1-1 to Charlie Culberson. Bumgarner, since that day he won in May of 2015, has made 6 starts against the Dodgers, 0-4, and he is 0-2 this year. And now they've come from behind again. Well, not from behind. They actually came from in front. They scored 2. Then the Giants came back to tie. Austin Barnes is now on deck. And Culberson 1-1. 1-2. Brandon McCarthy throwing alone now in the Dodger bullpen. It'll be Pagan, Crawford, and Tomlinson in the bottom of the 6th. (3-2) Dodgers. 3 singles with 2 out here in the 6th. Ruiz, Seguin, Hernandez. Fastball pulled on the ground to third. Beckham makes the play, and the inning is over. 1 run, 3 hits, 2 left. At the end of 5.5 innings, 3-2 Dodgers.
By Spectrum. On this date in 1999, the Dodgers beat the Giants 9-4 in the last baseball game ever played at Candlestick Park. Afterwards, a crowd of over 61,000 fans watched Willie Mays throw the ballpark's final pitch ever.
Dodgers make two changes. Chase Utley takes over at second base. He will bat ninth. Brandon McCarthy will bat eighth in Culberson's spot. Charlie just made the last out. So Brandon McCarthy trying to hold on to what is now a 3-2 lead. The paid attendance 41,359. 41,359. That would be the 487th straight sellout here at AT&T Park. Meanwhile, Brandon McCarthy now holding the lead, works the first pitch. Pagan bluffs, and it's 1 ball and no strike. Pagan playing left field tonight, had a sacrifice fly and fly to center. Fastball low. So McCarthy falling behind 2-0 to Angel. And ball 3. If you look at Angel Pagan, he has had so many injuries, it's unbelievable, really. Injured his forearm, hamstring, inflammation of the colon, bruised shoulder, bone spur, strained right groin, oblique, a bout of colitis, and on ball 4, a healthy Pagan, who means so much to the Giants, goes to first base. The batter now is Brandon Crawford, 2 for 2 against Rich Hill. Crawford has been a fixture at shortstop for the Giants really since 2011. He's come into his own, hitting .274, piled up 12 home runs. Joe Panik, left-hand batter, is out on deck. And ball 1. So McCarthy walked Pagan. Hill went the required 5. Allowed 2 runs, 8 hits. Walked 1, struck out 4. Runner bluffs in the pitch on the corner, and a 1 ball 1 strike count. Pagan really did a very good job, as if he was going, then held on. Dodgers led 2-0. Giants tied it. Dodgers lead 3-2, and the tying runs aboard. Pagan listening to first base coach Bill Hayes and staring over at Boshi at the same time. Big lead, a miss at the plate. So Pagan on the pitch goes a good 15 to 18 feet. Roberto Kelly looking over, and Pagan again. We'll see how far he goes. Right-hand pitcher. Got a conservative lead now, but on the pitch of the plate, that's twice he looked like he was going to steal. And he is certainly selling that idea to Brandon McCarthy. One ball and 2 strikes. There he goes with another big lead. 2-2 to count to McCarthy. Working on Brandon Crawford. And another check with Roberto Kelly. So Pagan looks like he almost wants to try and steal. Not going. And that's probably stroked into left field for a base hit. So now the Giants try to come back. First and second, nobody out. Joe Panic will be called back to the dugout. So McCarthy is in some trouble, and for Brandon Crawford, he's 3 for 3. Tomlinson coming up. Boshi perhaps will have his second baseman bunt. Dodgers lead 3-2, but the Giants have first and second, nobody out. McCarthy listening to Turner and Seager. Tomlinson the batter with Beckham on deck. Now Connor Gillespie comes out in the on-deck circle, and Beckham goes back. So the corners are up. They're certainly looking for a bunt. The bunt is missed. A throw back. Just did get back was Pagan. The Ruiz hammered his throw right on the money. Pagan picks up a little real estate. Seager directly behind Pagan. Another bunt attempt missed again. So Tomlinson, who is not hitting much anyway, no power hitter, asked to advance the runners, and he's 0-2. 0 for 2 tonight, and we'll see if they ask him to try to bunt again with the left-hand hitter Gillespie on deck. Dodgers still look bunt. He is going to swing and foul it away. Seguin in on the grass, and let's see if he charges again. He is not convinced that Tomlinson will not bunt. 2-2, swings away and hits it into right center. Up with it is Puig, and that means the bases are going to be loaded. They wouldn't dare try to score Pagan when Peg picked up the ball. Gunned it in, and the bases are loaded, nobody out. Roberto Kelly didn't even think about the runner as soon as Puig picked it up. So Pagan into a slide to make sure he wasn't going to go too far. Angel talking to Cowboy Joe over there at third base, Cowboy Joe West. So Connor Gillespie coming up with the bases loaded, nobody out. So McCarthy has given up a walk, 2 singles, and here's Gillespie. So you have Pagan, then you have Crawford, then you have Tomlinson. It's 3-2 Dodgers, but the Giants trying to break through. The Giants feeling the pressure. They know the Cardinals won. Connor Gillespie checking in, left-hand batter. Connor, among other things, is a meteorologist hunting the weather. We've got plenty of weather up here. And ball 1. All the yellow flags being swung in the stands, trying to keep the rally going. Of course, there's a lot of blue up here as well. 1 ball and no strikes. Pagan, Crawford, Tomlinson all out there. Nobody out. 3-2 Dodgers, bottom of the 6th. Line foul way down the line. Connor Gillespie was a first-round pick by the Giants, a compensatory pick. Came up to the Giants really the first year that they picked him up. Went to school at Wichita State. Handy man to have around. He's got bad feet. Plantar fasciitis. I think the first time I heard of that was a great Giants third baseman named Matt Williams. All right, 1 ball and 1 strike. And ball 2. Good save by Ruiz. Pagan at third, Crawford at second, Tomlinson at first, nobody out. 2-1 the count to Connor Gillespie. Line drive down the right field line, going in the corner. In comes Pagan. Here comes Crawford. They'll stop Tomlinson at third, and it's 4-3 San Francisco. So Pagan scored easily. Crawford scored easily. And they wisely hit Tomlinson at third. So now Bumgarner with first base open. The infield is up. Roberto Kelly gesturing to the runners. So let's see. Denard Span is now out on deck to bat for Gorkas Hernandez. 0-1. So McCarthy came in with the Dodgers leading 3-2. He walked Pagan. Crawford single to left. Tomlinson single to right to load the bases. Connor Gillespie doubled home 2. So there are runners at second and third. And the Giants lead 4-3. Breaking ball popped in the air, foul, out of play. Bumgarner hit back to the box and struck out. 4 runs, 9 hits for the Giants, 3 runs, 8 hits for the Dodgers, and we're in the 6th inning. 0-2. Fastball fouled away. Good spot down outside part. Bumgarner just did get the bat on it to stay alive. Nobody out. Denard Span on deck. 4-3 Giants looking for more here in the 6th inning. Fastball foul back. Bumgarner furious at himself. I think that's the ball he felt he should have hit. Can't believe that he fouled that back. Take a look. Right there. Oh yeah. He just hit under it. 0-2. At third is Tomlinson. At second is Connor Gillespie. Breaking ball foul back. There's Denard Span, who came to the Giants from Washington. Washington lost tonight, so this is a big game for both teams. Fastball is low. 1-2. So the Mets won. They clinched a tie. The Cardinals won. The Giants trying to win in the wild card. Dodgers, meanwhile, no. Washington lost. They've got a chance to cut Washington's lead to 1. Fastball whacked down the left field line. Fair ball in the corner. 2 runs will score. It is Bumgarner's double, and the Giants lead 6-3, all against Brandon McCarthy. So it has been a disaster for Brandon McCarthy, and he's been pushed around. A walk, 2 singles, 2 doubles. Josh Raven hasn't thrown a ball yet. He's just trying to loosen up. So the Giants were down 3-2. They've scored 4, and there's still nobody out. Big huddle on the mound. Denard Span is waiting to be the pinch hitter for Gorkas Hernandez, and then Span will take over in center field. So Bumgarner with a clean double into the corner to drive in 2. Denard Span batting for Gorkas Hernandez, who was 1 for 3. Span, who was born in Washington, rather ironic, trying to hurt the Dodgers, who are hurting anyway. 6-3. Span, a veteran, has well over 1,000 hits. He takes low, ball 1. He had a 29-game hitting streak a couple of years ago. During that streak, 5 doubles, 2 triples, couple of home runs, 9 RBIs. A one-man game. 32 years old, good outfielder. Now Raven is loosening up and throwing. Fastball, 2-0 the count. Span played in Cuba, U.S. junior team, finished second in that tournament long time ago. Supposed to play in the 2008 Beijing Olympics, but he had a chance to go up to the majors, though he didn't go to that. Same year, he had LASIK surgery on his eyes, and he hits it into left field. Base hit. Bumgarner will stop at third, and the Dodgers can't stop the bleeding. A walk, followed by 2 singles, 2 doubles, and another single. Dave Roberts hopes that Raven is ready. McCarthy really ready to go out on his shield. Brandon Belt will be the batter. It is 6-3 Giants, and we'll be back.
Brought to you by Nissan. Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most exciting lineup ever. Shop online at choosenissan.com.
With Jaime Reen, the great favorite in the Philadelphia Phillies, Harry Callis, God rest his soul. Boy, did they love him in Philadelphia. Great play-by-play man. Meanwhile, Josh Raven comes in to pick up the pieces. Dodgers led 3-2. Brandon McCarthy gives up 4, and maybe more because Span at first base is his responsibility. Bumgarner down the line from third as well. So Brandon Belt against Josh Raven. Belt has walked, doubled, and singled. Fastball, ball 1, 1-0. Belt, RBI man with 79, 16 home runs. Raven has had 9 scoreless appearances with 12 strikeouts so far. And a high fly ball to deep center. Back goes Kike. Away back. Gone. A 3-run home run. It is 9-3 San Francisco. The Giants have broken it wide open against Brandon McCarthy, and then Josh Raven gives up the home run to Belt. So Raven has allowed 1 run on the home run. McCarthy is charged with 6 runs, and the Giants down 3-2 now lead 9-3. And here is Posey. Right. Posey, the 8th man to come to the plate. And there's still nobody out, and the Beat LA chant is a little late. So Rich Hill did well. 5 innings, 2 runs, and the sky fell in on McCarthy. 1 ball and 1 strike to count. Brandon Belt hitting his 17th home run. Gives him 82 runs batted in. So Washington lost, but it might not mean anything. Dodgers going down 9-3 here in the 6th. And against Madison Bumgarner. Posey a single. Puig robbed him of a hit and struck out. Bumgarner's double drove in 2 in the inning, and then he scored on the home run. 1-2. 2-2. Yasiel Puig, despite having a double and a single, watching the game disintegrate. Still nobody out. The Raven up and in to Posey. The crowd interprets that. They used to call it a purpose pitch. 3-2. Posey followed by Pence. Posey is the 8th man to come to the plate. Fastball fouled away. Fastball at 98. So the Dodgers scored 2 in the 1st inning, and the Giants came back with 2, and they stayed that way until the 6th inning when the Dodgers had a go-ahead run. And the Giants have come back with 7 and lead 9-3. 3-2. And that almost hits Posey's hands for ball 4, and the inning continues. And Hunter Pence coming on. Hunter Pence hit into a force play, struck out, fly to right. So Brandon Belt hits that big 3-run home run. That's ball 1 to Hunter Pence. Dodgers starting pitching has been very good. Dodgers had 59 victories by their starting pitchers. So Hill did pretty well, but it just got away from Brandon McCarthy. 1 ball and no strike. 1-1. Three-game series, and there's a lot on line in every game. 1-1. Fastball down and away. Remember, there's still nobody out. Pence is the 9th man to come up in the inning. Raven throwing very hard, despite the fact Belt hit it out. And for Bosey, well, Bruce is hoping that a 6-run lead can hold up behind Bumgarner. Boy, those are some really wild swings by Hunter Pence. So down he goes for the first out. Pitch is way off the plate, and it's like he just makes up his mind. I'm going after it anyway. So Pence in the dugout, 1 out. Angel Pagan switch hitter, so he'll now turn around and bat left-handed. Right-handed, he had a sacrifice fly and a walk. Scored a run. Remember, he led off the inning against McCarthy with a walk. And by the time he comes up, the game is broken wide open. A 7-run inning here in the 6th. So Posey at first, 1 out. One ball and 1 strike. When the Dodgers come up, Chase Utley followed by Kendrick and Turner. Breeze has picked up, blowing out to right. Ground foul, 1-2. Dodgers down by 6. They have a long, tough road. Of course, they do pile up home runs to try and catch up in a hurry. One and 2. And drive to left. Kendrick going back and over to his right. Makes a great backhand catch. So Pagan losing a base hit. Good play by Kendrick. 2 out. And the batter, Brandon Crawford. Crawford single to center, single to left twice. So he is 3 for 3. Scored 1. So Raven came in, gave up a home run, a walk, got the next 2. Hunter Pence, a puzzling hitter after watching the way he was swinging tonight. Struck out twice, hit into a force play and fly to right. 0-1. That's going to go off third, slicing fouls out of play. Of course, come to think of it, you know, Hunter Pence lives, I don't know if he still lives in that apartment. There is a 55-story apartment not too far from the ballpark. Hunter Pence lives there, and I believe Joe Montana as well. And that apartment house is sinking and tilting. So anybody who lives in an expensive apartment house that's sinking and tilting, no wonder he's making some wild swings. 0-2. And Crawford, little pop fly, Utley. And finally, the last out. So the Giants come up with 7. Brandon Belt, a big 3-run home run. Brandon McCarthy, the victim, and Bumgarner leads 9-3. Tomorrow, the Giants, it will be Clayton Kershaw, and we believe Albert Suarez will pitch for the Giants. Sunday, we know Kenta Maeda and Matt Moore. And we are not done with the story of the regular season in 2016. Denard Span, who came into the ball game as a pinch hitter and singled, is in center field. Over at third base, Connor Gillespie, and the Dodgers now will have Austin Barnes come up and bat. And a strike. So Barnes is batting for Utley, which is a surprise. Barnes hitting 167. Remember, Utley came in with McCarthy. McCarthy batted 8th, Utley batted 9th, and he doesn't get a chance to swing the bat. Austin Barnes does. So that's what Dave Roberts is trying to get, some more information as J.P. Howell goes to the dugout. Who's going to make the squad of 25? Who's going to cut loose and will not be seen? So no matter what, the manager has to find out information on his hitters, never mind the score. And if you're going to be blown out, you'll look at more players. So Barnes, Kendrick, and Turner, 9-3. That 7-run inning is the biggest inning against the Dodgers all year. It had been 5. Off speed and backhanded by the shortstop Crawford. So one away. Howie Kendrick coming up. Kendrick fouled out to the second baseman Tomlinson, grounded out, fly to center. 1 out in the 7th. 9-3 Giants, trying to win the 9th of 17 meetings. And remember, this is bad news ballpark for the Dodgers. In 17 games played here, going back to 2015, they have won only 4. They did, as we mentioned earlier, win a wild card. They also won a division here behind Kershaw. But otherwise, it has been one tough ballpark. Kendrick with Turner on deck. So Washington might get away with a loss to Miami and continue to have a 2-game lead against the Dodgers for home field advantage. 1-2 the count to Howie Kendrick. Bumgarner has made 95 pitches, and of course for Bochy, the thought of going to the bullpen is terrifying. We mentioned the fact how Bumgarner's thought of going to the bullpen is terrifying. He takes care of Howie Kendrick. So 2 down in the 7th inning, and the batter Turner. A reminder, live out your dream becoming a professional baseball player. Attend Dodgers Fantasy Camp at Camelback Ranch in Glendale, Arizona, January 15th through the 21st of 2017. For more information, visit Dodgers.com/fantasycamp today. Well, here's Justin Turner, single to left, tried to go to third on a base hit by Seager and was thrown out. Next time fly to right, last time grounded out. 1 for 3. A strike. Again, the reason why Bumgarner would like to stay in as Derek Law goes down to the bullpen is what's happened to him this year. In the dirt. He had 8 wins lost. In other words, he left the game in position to win, and the bullpen allowed enough runs for the opposition to tie or take the lead. He had 6 tough losses where he won at least 6, allowed 3 earned runs or lost. He's had 10 no decisions. That's why he is only looking for his 14th, now 15th win. Meanwhile, 1-2 the count on Turner. So consistent. Of course, again, in this day and age, as good as he is, he has 1 shutout. He has 4 complete games. Johnny Cueto has 5. Cueto just pitched the other night. 1-2 the count. Time. We're in the 7th inning with 2 out. 9-3 Giants. Fouled away. Bumgarner's pitch count now up to 100. So with a 6-run lead, the Giants might feel fairly comfortable in going to the bullpen. Bumgarner's last 2 games, he pitched 97 and 99. And that's a fly ball into right center. The outfield converges, and there's Hunter Pence. So the Dodgers got the steam knocked out of them in the 6th. They go quietly in the 7th, and the Giants lead 9-3.
Brought to you by BMW. See a Southern California BMW Center today for exceptional offers, or visit SoCalBMW.com.
The only time we ever had our picture taken together. We had been interviewed in the studio. It was a day we were going to go and cheer for Bob as he was being honored, and that was the last time really I saw a chick. Meanwhile, J.P. Howell pitching to the Giants. Dodgers have made several changes. Bumgarner, by the way, has made 14 pitches to get to 101. See how much left he has. Off the plate. Dodgers have Taylor at third, Kike Hernandez at short, Austin Barnes at second, and Andrew Toles in center. In the dirt. Tomlinson struck out, flied out, and singled to right. That loaded the bases in the 6th inning. And then Connor Gillespie came up, doubled home a couple, then Bumgarner doubled, then Span single. They brought in Belt. Josh Raven gave up a home run to Belt, and it's 9-3 San Francisco. Giants have to keep pace. The Mets won to clinch a tie. Cardinals won. Well, the Giants have to hang in there, and they've done very well. Dodgers had an opportunity because Washington lost. Had they won, they would have cut the home field threat from Washington from 2-1. So that's not going to be unless they come up with some Garrison-like finish. In looking at the Dodger lineup, and I'm not sure if you want to look at it, J.P. Howell is going to bat in the number 2 spot. Toles will bat after Seguin. Ground ball to short. Kike gets his man. So JP gets an out. And the batter now will be Connor Gillespie, who certainly had that big swing double to drive in a couple. Connor 2-run double, and then Bumgarner scored him. If you are keeping score, we told you Howell bats second. Toles will bat third. Taylor bats eighth. Barnes stays in the game. Remember, he batted for Utley and lined out. Gillespie followed by Bumgarner. Derek Law went to the bullpen, but he's not there. He's back in the dugout. 2-0 the count. Connor Gillespie. Madison Bumgarner has worked hard, of course, all year, and looking at his pitch count, trying to see his high, 116. Ground ball to first. That will be an out. So Seguin takes care of that. 2 down, and Madison Bumgarner had a big double coming up. Bumgarner doubled home Tomlinson and Gillespie. Just counting up the different games. 116, 117. He pitched 117 pitches against Arizona in July. That's his high. 117. And he's up to, I believe, 101 right now. Bumgarner 1 for 3. Double and a couple of RBIs. Also scored on the home run by Belt. 9 runs, 12 hits for San Francisco. 3 runs, 8 hits for the Dodgers. So it looks like Boshi and company will have beaten the Dodgers 14 of 18 here since 2015. 14 out of 18. 1-1. 1-2. When the Dodgers bat in the 8th inning, they'll have Toles, Puig, and Ruiz. Puig is 2 for 3. Ruiz 2 for 3. Seguin 1 for 3, and Toles will get his first at bat. 1-2. In the dirt, kicks away. Still 1-2 apparently. Nope, now they're going to change it. No foul ball. 2 balls and 2 strikes, 2 out. Suarez and Kershaw tomorrow. Moore, the left-hander. Matt Moore, Kenta Maeda Sunday. Little pop fly back at first. Seguin trying to make and can't make an over-the-shoulder catch. So Bumgarner is aboard with a base hit. He's 2 for 4. Rob trying but could not quite get under it. There's a good view. Just missed it. Never touched it. Austin Barnes had trouble picking it up as well. So that'll bring up Denard Span, who singled in the 6th. Bumgarner has a double and a single. 2 runs batted in. 9 runs, 13 hits for San Francisco. Punched on the ground, backhanded at third. Taylor, low throw, good pick by Seguin. So the Giants failed to score, and we're heading for the 8th inning. San Francisco leading 9-3. MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball. You'll enjoy game day, live game video highlights, statcasts, news, and so much more. You'll get MLB.com at bat on your favorite device now. Dodgers come up in the 8th, down by 6. Madison Bumgarner is still out there. Andrew Toles will have his first at bat. Corey Seager hit the ball well, wound up 1 for 3. Couple of long fly balls and a single to center. Came around to score, and now Toles finishing up in center field. Toles, Puig, Seguin in the dirt to the screen. 2-0. Derek Law was down in the bullpen. Came back in when the Giants scored 7, and now he goes back out to warm up. 2-0. So again, we repeat, Washington lost, and unless the Dodgers come up with a miracle finish, they'll still be 2 games back of Washington with 2 left for home field advantage. The Mets won. They clinched a tie for a wild card. The Cardinals won, so they're still alive. And the Giants look like they're very much alive with a win tonight. Foul back. 2 games left. What would happen? You could have a couple of ties in the wild card. Corey Seager and company taking time off. 9-3 thanks to a 7-run 6th inning. Bumgarner pitching, I guess right now about as long as he wants. Back in the warmth of July, 117 pitches. That's his high. He's up to 106 right now. High fly ball playable. Angel Pagan. So Toll's a fly ball, 1 out in the 8th. And the batter will be Yasiel Puig. And now let's see, Bruce Bochy going to the mound. And he's going to make the decision. He is bringing in Derek Law. Bumgarner gives him the ball. And Madison walks off, possibly to win his 15th. We'll be back. Time I heard of him that he was from Pittsburgh, I immediately thought of a great pitcher in Pittsburgh for the Pirates named Vernon Law, but no relation. He's big enough, 6'2", 210, 26 years old, and working against Yasiel Puig. Fastball strike. Puig lined a double a left that scored a run. Got an infield single and fly to center. So Bumgarner, after 107 pitches, comes out. He went 7 1/3, 3 runs, 8 hits, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. His 5th time against the Dodgers, and it looks like he'll pick up his first win. So that might be a little replay of the pitch that sent Buster Posey down. If you're going to be a pitcher, you have to protect your own hitters. So Posey went down, Puig almost. Check swing, no swing. Throws hard. See you later. So Puig goes 2 for 4. Pitch backhanded. Now Dave Roberts had to be very careful. If he actually went up there and argued on that, he'd be kicked out. Dave just made sure Puig was not kicked out. And here's Carlos Ruiz. Single, popped up, singled again, 2 for 3. Knocked in a run, scored one. Breaking ball, strike. Law pitching in the minors since 2011. He had Tommy John surgery in 2014, so he's come back nicely from that. Bumgarner, after 107 pitches. Remember, he was also in quest of his 100th win, so this game meant a lot, keeping the Giant hopes alive and against the Dodgers. Out away, 3-2. We're in the 8th, 2 down, bases empty. Dodgers had 3 consecutive singles in the 6th inning. Ruiz, Seguin, and Hernandez to take a 3-2 lead, and the Giants came back with 7, including a 3-run home run by Belt. What an effort by Crawford to get Ruiz. Wonderful play by Brandon. Dodgers go down 1-2-3. Worth another look. Full turn. Right on the money. We will be right back. Inning, probably the biggest play was the 3-run home run by Belt. Brandon hit it with Spahn aboard and Bumgarner aboard, and that broke it wide open. Of course, the losing pitcher, the guy who really got pummeled, was Brandon McCarthy. So here's JP. Ball 1. McCarthy did not get anybody out and was charged with a walk, 5 hits, and 6 runs. Then Raven gave up the home run, and here's Howell. Dodgers in the 9th inning will have Seguin, Hernandez, and then Taylor. Wow, that got him on the hand. It was 59 degrees. when the game started, and I think things hurt worse the colder it is. You can see he's had the left wrist and the lower part of the forearm. Of course, the Giants could ill afford to lose Brandon Belt. Howell trying to come inside. Got him right on the back of the right hand. The hand is so complicated with all the little bones. A very concerned Bruce Bochy watching the trainer work on that hand. Looks like he was hit on the wrist. Not tonight. Pressing all those little bones. I'm all right, he said. So the kid from Nacogdoches in Texas, Brandon Belt, hit by the pitch. So he's had a big night. He had a walk, a hit by pitch, a single, a double, and the 3-run home run. Dave Roberts taking the ball from JP. He'll go to the pen again, and we'll be back. Went 5 innings. Then it was McCarthy, Raven, Howell, and Coleman. But of course, Brandon McCarthy is the guy who really took the brunt and the heat. Gave up a 3-2 lead with a 6-run, 5-hit 6th inning. And with it, the ball game. Here's Buster Posey. Single, rob of a hit on a diving catch by Puig. Struck out and walked. 1 for 3. They're not holding Belt. That's going to go foul down the line, out of play. Paid attendance 41,359. The 487th sellout. That's right, 487. Oh, 2. Dodgers look like Seguin, Hernandez, and Taylor in the 9th inning. And although it's only one game for the Dodgers, it's also game number 160. And by this time, Dave Roberts starting to scratch names off the roster, those who will not compete in the postseason. 0-2 to Buster Posey. 1-2. Quiet man from Mississippi. Lewis Coleman. That 67 rings a bell for me. A little low. 2-2. Nine runs, 13 hits for the Giants, 3 runs, 8 hits for the Dodgers. Giants will have won 9 of 17, but for the Dodgers, a bad set of numbers. They will have lost 14 of the last 18 here, going back to 2015. 3-2. Well, Buster Posey takes a big swing. Down he goes. So Posey goes 1 for 4 with a walk. And now let's see if Hunter Pence makes some more wild, almost careless swings. Hitting .291, so there's nothing careless about his game. But he had some strange swings tonight and striking out twice against pitchers that were far out of the strike zone. Hunter hit into a force play, flied to right, struck out twice. In the Giant lineup, Posey has a hit. Pence and Pagan are hitless. Pagan has a sacrifice fly and a walk. 2-0 the count to Hunter Pence. Bare hand, play at second for 1 to first, too late. Nice play by Lewis Coleman. Off balance to bare hand and turn it into a force play at second. Watch this. Pitch really was out of the strike zone. Force play worked, but that's it. So Angel Pagan had a sac fly, fly to center, walk, scored a run, fly to left. 2 out, bottom of the 8th, 9-3 Giants. 1 ball, no strikes. The Mets won, the Cardinals won. Giants look like they're going to win. Washington and the Dodgers. Washington, we know, has already lost. 2-0. To repeat, unless there are changes, we'll see Seguin, who is 1 for 3. Hernandez 1 for 2 with a walk, and then Taylor no at bats. Game started a little late. Started almost 7:20. You want to really cut it close, 7:18 or 19, but coming up 10:30. 3-1. We're giving away the Willie Mack Award. Willie McCovey here to watch the presentation. Brandon Crawford and Javier Lopez got the award. And there's ball 4 to Pagan. So Coleman hit a batter, struck out Posey, got pinched to hit into a force, walks Pagan, and the batter is Brandon Crawford. Crawford 3 hits and finally made out. Single to center, single to left, single to right, scored a run on that double by Connor Gillespie. Ground foul. 0-1. Another fine game turned in by Brandon. Boy, he means so much now as he has grown in that role at shortstop. One of the big men on the team. Hill went 5, then McCarthy, Raven, Howell, and Coleman. Pagan at first, they're not holding him. Two and one. Sellout crowd, and although a lot of people left way up in the upper deck, large crowd is pretty much staying in there. Friday night. 2 and 1. Coleman having some trouble, hit a batter, walked one. Now fallen behind 3-1 to Crawford. Kelby Tomlinson will probably give way to Joe Panik. That looks what's about to happen. There's Joe, left-hand batter. And ball 4. So Coleman has hit a batter, walked 2. Panik, a left-hand batter coming up. Dave Roberts can't quite understand. I can almost read his mind. Can't quite understand. You're down by 6 in the 8th inning, and you can't come close to throwing a strike. That's the moment. A hit batter and 2 walks. And here's Panik coming up to hit for Kelby Tomlinson. Giants have used 3 pinch hitters. Span singled. Connor Gillespie had the big double. And now Joe Panik. It's interesting too that Madison Bumgarner had the double to drive in 2 RBIs from the pitchers with the bat this year. Giant pitchers 33 runs batted in. Cardinals 31 and the Cubs 26. 1 ball and 1 strike. Panik has had only 7 hits in his last 54 at-bats, hitting .171 in his last 25 games. One and 2. Joe was really fighting it. He was injured. I know at one time. That apparently has really set him back. 1 ball and 2 strikes. And that's going to be a fly ball to right. Here comes Puig to pick it off. And that'll be that. So we're heading for the 9th inning with the Giants a commanding lead of 9-3. Net LA is brought to you exclusively on Spectrum. What a thrill that was to do the All-Star game in Anaheim with the President of the United States. Interesting, too, when he came to the ballpark, he had a big piece of brown paper, and he had drawn an infield and a baseball park, and he had all the names in there. I mean, he came prepared to do an inning or two. It was an insight to the preparation of the man. What an honor. The President of the United States, Ronald Reagan. Meanwhile, Andre Ethier hitting for second in against Santiago Casilla. Mile high fly ball, but very playable. Pence coming over, but Span is right there. So one away in the ninth inning. Dodgers 3 runs, 8 hits, no errors. Suarez and Kershaw, that's the best we can guess at for tomorrow. We know Matt Moore against Maeda on Sunday. Santiago Casilla was the closer, no doubt about it. And then all of a sudden, he couldn't close. And then, and so it happens all the time, they tell me up here, the fans really got on him. And even though he had 31 saves, he began to press. The more he pressed, the more he got in trouble. The more he got in trouble, the more the fans were on him. And he just completely lost his confidence. Bumgarner tonight, while he was in there, with 5 strikeouts, that gave him 251 strikeouts. The only Giant pitchers to strike out 250 or more: Jason Schmidt, Tim Lincecum, Madison Bumgarner, and Christy Mathewson. And you say, what about Marichal? He just missed. He had 248. One out, ninth inning. 9-3 San Francisco. Fastball fouled away. Kike, who came into the game hitting .500 against Madison Bumgarner, walked, then struck out, then had a key single in the 6th inning. It was the 3rd straight hit. He drove in the run to break the 2-2 tie, and for a moment the Dodgers led 3-2. And then the sky fell on them with a 7-run bottom of the 6th inning. So down goes TK. And with his foot in the door now, Chris Taylor. So Bumgarner went 7 1/3. Law 2/3 of an inning. And now Casilla trying to finish off. Chris Taylor got into the ball game. A lot of maneuvering by Dave Roberts, taking a look at individual performances to make up his mind for the roster. And there's ball 1. But the Dodgers running out of time now, trailing Washington by 2 with 2 games left. 1-1. Dodgers, of course, would always want to have home field advantage. On the road, they will be 3 games under .500. At home, 53-28. There were 25 games above .500 at home. 1-1. Ground ball, panic has the play, and the Giants have the game. 9 runs, 13 hits, no errors for the Giants. 3 runs, 8 hits, no errors for the Dodgers. Bumgarner the winner and McCarthy the loser. And tomorrow, I believe Suarez, definitely Kershaw. We'll talk to you then. Until then, we wish you all a very pleasant good evening, everybody.